Have you ever wondered what really goes on inside immigration detention centers? Get ready to uncover the realities of immigration detention in this eye-opening video. This video will give you a comprehensive understanding of immigration detention centers. Let's uncover the truth. Detention centers primarily hold individuals who are seen as potentially high risk, but not all of them truly are. Some haven't committed any crimes, while others have committed low-risk offenses. Yes, there are a few high-risk individuals, but they are not the majority. However, all detainees are treated on the same scale, and their visas are almost always refused, with the explanation that they pose a risk to the community. As a result, they are kept in detention for extended periods. The majority of people in these centers have families outside, living in the community. Yet, I don't understand why detainees are forced to waste years of their lives in immigration detention centers. On the mainland, these centers are located in places like Villawood Immigration Detention Center in New South Wales, Melbourne, Yonga Hill Immigration Detention Center in Western Australia, and Adelaide. Offshore centers include Christmas Island, Manus Island, and Nauru. Welcome to my first video. Today I want to share with you what an immigration detention center is, based on my own experiences. I've spent several years in these facilities, and I believe it's important to shed light on what goes on inside. So, what exactly is an immigration detention center? It's where the Australian government holds individuals whose visas have been cancelled, or non-citizens who have served time in prison for committing a crime. It doesn't matter if you had permanent residency. If your visa is cancelled, you could end up in one of these centers. After my visa was cancelled, I was first taken to Villawood Immigration Detention Center in New South Wales. I spent around 2 years there before being transferred to Christmas Island. Some of you might not be familiar with it. Christmas Island is an island near Indonesia, but is considered Australian territory. The government set up an immigration detention center there, which operated at a huge cost before it was closed in 2023. Eventually, I was moved to Yonga Hill Immigration Detention Center in Western Australia, which is about a 1 hour and 20-minute drive from Perth. It's frustrating to see how immigration laws in Australia can have such a profound impact on people's lives, especially when it results in spending years in detention. I've seen many detainees who have been detained for more than 10 years. It's shocking, isn't it? I understand the need for immigration detention centers to manage border security and assess individuals who can't be immediately deported. But what I can't understand is why some people are kept detained for years. I've met detainees who have been here for over a decade, others for 8 years, and many more who have been detained for 5 years or longer. Most of them are considered low risk, but their visas are still refused under the pretense that they are a risk to the community. But what community are they referring to? Australia is a diverse country. I've noticed in the news that serious offenders often get released after serving their sentences, just because they are Australian citizens. Meanwhile, detainees in detention centers are held for years, even after serving their time. It's particularly heartbreaking to see that some of these individuals were permanent residents who, for various reasons, didn't obtain Australian citizenship. If they had, they wouldn't be facing detention. Many of them have families and homes here, with wives and children who are Australian citizens. Yet, they're still kept in detention for years after serving their prison sentences. They can't leave everything behind and move back, because their children and spouses are from Australia. And if they take their families with them, it would be terribly unfair. Let's talk about offshore detentions. In the past, Australia held many people who arrived unlawfully by boat in privately run offshore detention centers on Manus Island and Nauru. This was part of a policy meant to discourage vulnerable people from seeking asylum in Australia by boat. These offshore detention centers caused a lot of controversy. People were kept there for long periods, reportedly in very basic and unsafe conditions, which led to many suffering from mental illness. Critics argue that offshore detention is incredibly expensive and damaging to people. It's estimated that taxpayers spent around $12 billion on these centers. Many people held there suffered both mentally and physically. The purpose of making this video is to raise awareness about the suffering in these centers and how people's mental health deteriorates day by day. Some detainees end up taking their own lives, and the outside world has no idea what's really going on inside. It's a big shame for the Australian government. No other country has immigration laws like this. It's a waste of humanity. I don't even have the words to describe it. They have no right to keep people stuck in one place for years, just over visa issues. Yet, they still do it. Let me ask you, do you think keeping people detained for years is the solution? Personally, I think the government should take action to stop wasting detainees' lives in immigration detention centers. We have families waiting for us. Rather than keeping people detained for 5 to 10 years, the government should supervise them individually. Detainees are already under surveillance 24/7. They could monitor each detainee and release them under conditions, perhaps with ankle bracelets if necessary. Even if it takes a few weeks, what's the logic behind keeping people detained for 5 to 10 years? This situation highlights the flaws in the immigration system and the human cost of these policies. It's a complex issue that deserves our attention and consideration. Thank you for listening to my story. Stay tuned for more videos, where I'll share further insights and experiences.